Near mint condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
This is Mr. Chris Claremont, a legend.
Melanie goes,
Tired.
Hey, all you mentees! Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And join me today for your advanced look at the Marvel Archive Edition, Marvel Superheroes Secret Wars, Gallery Edition hardcover from Marvel Comics. So, let's take a look at this book together. And welcome back, everybody. Before going any further, a big thank you to David Gabriel and the fine folks at Marvel for sending us an advance copy of this archive edition. This archive edition is due in the direct market and book market on September 16th, or 17th, depending on where you get your books. On the left-hand side is your standard edition cover that's going to be available everywhere. That is, of course, the cover to issue number 1. Drawn by Mike Zeck, just like this direct market cover. This one that I have here in front of the camera is actually drawn by Mike Zeck too. But there's a second direct market cover. That one is also supplied by Mike Zeck, and there is a difference in the spine. For some reason, this cover right here, the one in the middle, doesn't have a character, like the Captain America in the standard edition or the Doctor Doom in the direct market. Maybe because they couldn't think of a character to put on the spine. I'm not sure. This is normally the part where I say, and everything underneath the dust jacket is the same, but these books don't have a dust jacket. They're actually built a little bit different. They are longer and taller than your Omnis. This is a big book. And this is the second one. The first one was, of course, the Spider-Man one, and here it is compared to the size of a Marvel omnibus. And, of course, I have to put it right beside the very first archive edition, The Amazing Spider-Man, the Black Costume, Year 1. So, as you can see, it is just this tall and almost just this thick. And no dust jacket on these particular books. If you want to see more of a size comparison, I've done a size comparison thoroughly on that video with the Black Costume Volume 1. This has been previously released in an omnibus format, printed twice. It's been released in so many different trade paperbacks and Marvel Premiere hardcover editions, but this is the first time we're having it in a huge oversized format. And I'll do a little internal comparison here in a little bit. But let's actually, since we focus on the front and the back, or the front and spine, let's look at the back. So the greatest comic book crossover of them all, boldly represented in its original form. And what it collects, the ISBN, and that is something to note here, full facsimile issues inside. So let's go ahead and crack this open and talk about this particular monumental story and what it meant, and then look at the extras and do a comparison with the omnibus edition. Alright, let's go ahead and get this big book open. Here's your end sheets, Marvel Superheroes, Secret Wars, and your table of contents, which I find interesting because just like the Spider-Man Black Costume, they don't have any page numbers because they're just reprinting the actual pages of the comic books. So they don't have page numbers at the bottom, but they do have page numbers here. Get yourself a bookmark. Over here on the left-hand side are the credits with this amazing, I love that image of there's so many Doctor Doom images in here that I love. Mike Zeck and, of course, Bob Layton supplying the pencils, Jim Shooter's the writer, John Beatty, Jack Abel, Mike Esposito doing the inks, Christy Shealy and Nell Yomtov are the colors, Joe Rosen is the letterer, Tom DeFalco, editor at the time. That actually suggested a few things. And over here on the table of contents, they don't tell you, but there is a wonderful new introduction by editor extraordinaire Ralph Macchio, who worked in the industry and still continues to work in the industry for years, giving you a brief breakdown as to how the whole project got started, how at the time the Distinguished Competition was approached by a toy company to do some toys because they had passed up on Marvel. So then Mattel Toys contacted Marvel and said, hey, let's work on something together. But since there's not a TV show or anything that we can use to promote it, why don't you make some comic books about these characters and change the costumes up a little bit? And that's really the premise of Secret Wars. So in here is all 12 issues of Secret Wars in their original comic stories as they were printed the first time, with the exception, of course, that they're bigger. So all of the covers are intact in here. All of the back cover, like the art that you would see on the back of the cover right here, and all of the ads. And for the first time, collected, the bullpen is in here. So, as a matter of fact, Ralph Macchio says that is really important. To people that lived during this time, that's how we got a lot of our information. So it's very nostalgic for us. And especially if you were getting the comic at the time when it was coming out in the in the 80s. But he did mention, like, for modern readers, this is really like a time machine, a throwback, especially some of these ads. And some of these ads are forever embedded in my head as to the art and what they were selling and some of the video game ads. And I have done an overview, a thorough overview, I think, of Secret Wars, but just to kind of play it safe, I'm going to talk about some spoilers in here. The stories are from 1984 to 1985. Like, I think enough time has passed. And they're just classic stories, but if you are interested in what exactly is collected in here, there are extras in the back, like the variant covers for the facsimile editions, and also some other house ads and articles. But spoilers, moving forward. Oh my gosh, I love this stuff. This is such a unique crossover event, or I guess a big event at Marvel. It was the very first big event, because after this, my goodness, that's all she wrote, right? We got Secret Wars 2 and then a bunch of crossovers because they know they could sell. So, long story short, the Beyonder, a cosmic being that you don't even see in the first issue, or any issues in here, pulls Marvel heroes and Marvel villains from Earth to put them on this planet and called it Battle World, and he grants them, and it's really creepy, but completely awesome just how powerful he is. So let's go back here when he builds this planet, and both Doctor Doom and Galactus plays such a cool part in here. But right here, I am from beyond. Slay your enemies, and all you desire shall be yours. Nothing you dream of is impossible for me to accomplish. So the Beyonders start speaking to both the heroes and the villains. Of course, the villains are like, I believe him. Let's kill all the good guys. Now, before Galactus gets his butt handed to him by the Beyonder, something cool happens here where he just kind of sucks the life force out of Ultron, because Ultron's getting on his nerves. It's because all the villains are together, all the heroes are together. And the Wrecking Crew are like, whoa, that is one bad dude. Ultron contained more power than an H-bomb. So that shows you how badass Galactus is. Well, Galactus and Doctor Doom, because Doctor Doom ain't bending the knee to nobody, they go up and try to talk to the Beyonder. Of course, talking is not what Doctor Doom wants to do. And they get completely just smacked back. Galactus, who just took down a guy that is as powerful as an H-bomb, gets smacked back. That's it. That's how powerful the Beyonder is. That kind of sets the stage as to these heroes have no hope. These villains have no hope as to getting out of here. So they have to do what the Beyonder says. Interesting enough, during this time, Magneto, everyone thinks he's a villain. He's going through kind of his redemption arc. It is after issue of Uncanny 150 where he sank a submarine, and people are calling him, including the Avengers, murdered, the Fantastic Four. But he's with the good guys. Like, he appears here with the good guys, and that's because he was with the X-Men. The really cool thing about this project is that these characters disappeared in their monthly comics and then reappeared in the next issue. That missing year is told here. How did Spider-Man get his black costume? Whoa, Colossus fell in love with an alien lady and broke Kitty's heart. Wait a second. The Thing isn't coming back and She-Hulk has taken his place? Everything is talked about here, including the changes to some costumes, including the changes to some of the teams. So yes, the bad guys are like, okay, let's do it. and the good guys go to war. And of course, it's not as simple as that. You know, there are sides. There's people playing both sides. There are people that fall a little bit in love. Relationships start through here because they're stuck on this world. Doctor Doom is just being Doctor Doom and has probably one of the best, most amazing moments. Captain America ever being the soldier, trying to guide his people. And it's really cool to see these characters just work together as a team. And again, relationships start that you don't think are going to start. We do have, I forgot, the very first appearance in here of two characters. And that is Titania and Volcana. So it is, Marcia Rosenberg and, oh my gosh, it's a Skeeter. I think it is. It is Skeeter McFerrin. Both characters appearing through here as super-powered characters. And then you've got villains like the Wrecking Crew, Thunderbolt and Wrecker and Bulldozer. Dr. Octopus is here. Enchantress is here. And, of course, Galactus and Kang the Conqueror. Pulled out of time, a guy that can manipulate time and go anywhere he wants is stuck here with Ultron and all these other nemesis. But I do like that. And the idea was, let's make toys out of this. And again, the house ads and ads for toys and other things are throughout these books right here, including the bullpen stories too. And this is the Bob Layton issue right here with the Incredible Hulk with that iconic cover. And the original cover, the original idea for the cover is all the way in the back, too. And, yeah, you'll see ads in here that you think, oh my gosh, I would love to see. This is a Bill Sienkiewicz cover right here of the Amazing High Adventures. You're also going to see the first appearance of another big character that happens in issue number 6, but really in issue number 7. You'll see some deaths that don't really stick around. At least not that long. And you'll see relationships right here with Zaji, playing both Johnny Storm and my boy Peter Rasputin. But in issue 7, yeah, we get the full appearance of Julia Carpenter, Spider-Woman. A woman that was pulled out of Earth, too, because when the Beyonder made Battleworld, he was pulling different pieces from around the different worlds. So at first they don't know whether to trust her or not. And that costume looks very familiar. So familiar that we're going to see it in the very next issue. Now, by now, you have seen it if you've been getting Amazing Spider-Man. You already saw that he got his costume. But it happens here, how he got his costume. And it really happens really quick. And it is amazing. I love this introduction by Ralph Macchio when he's talking about the idea of this little, just this little ball, this little black ball right here. How it grew and became Venom, Carnage, the King in Black, and just all these things that have their own fan following. All because of that. And then, of course, the costume appears. Then the characters go to war. They build a machine. And Doctor Doom is like, wait, I can take the power of the Beyonder. And he does. And it has one of the most awesome covers of all time, or at least I think so. I love this cover to issue number 10. Mike Zeck, of course, inked by the phenomenal and legendary Terry Austin. Look at the detail on there. I love that it's oversized too. Beautiful. I'd like to see an artist edition of this. But yes, Dr. Doom ends up with the power of the Beyonder and goes to war with everybody. And of course, everybody's like, we can't let him take the power of the Beyonder. And one of the cool things that happens in here, because they're working with a toy line, they got rid of the cape to make it look like the toy. I think they all had shields too. I only had a couple of them. But using the power of the Beyonder, and of course the importance of the Molecule Man, he's able to kind of reshape everything, including his face. And yeah, Tony Stark, Captain America, Reed Richards, they all decide, let's team up with some of the bad guys and let's take him down. Molecule Man and Volcana developed this relationship here. And you'll see a lot of this play out later on in Secret Wars 2015. That's what makes this book so iconic, that all of this happened in 84 and they were still using a lot of these things in the 2015 crossover Secret Wars by Jonathan Hickman, including Doctor Doom and his importance, including Molecule Man. And there's Julia Carpenter, who will leave here and end up joining the Avengers West Coast. But yes, Lockheed, and there's your double page spread. We'll compare it to the omnibus here in a little bit. Although my omnibus is the first printing. And the big fight against Doom. And then, of course, eventually saying goodbye. And Ben Grimm deciding, you know what? I'm going to stay and have my own adventures and call it The Thing comic book. And it'll be great. It was. Ron Wilson's art's phenomenal. Okay, so let's look through here. Here's the Hidden Gem facsimile cover right there. And that's just one of the direct market covers. And then the other facsimile covers here. By Nick Bradshaw, Phil Noto, Arthur Adams, Francesco Mobili, Salvador La Roca, Jungyang Yoon, and other artists. So some of them are homages. And then you have this right here from Marvel Age 11. The cover from Secret Wars number... Well, that will use Secret Wars number 1. And one of the things that they always know, and I actually know this, is that Kitty Pryde was later changed out. They decided not to use her. And it makes for a better story that she wasn't used. Not all the X-Men, but like Lockheed got to come. Yeah. And then the changes to the costume, how it was originally designed. And more of the Marvel Age behind the scenes interviews. This is what the toys look like. So, no cape, and most of them, I want to say, had a shield. The house ad, and then the actual toys. Wait a second, Iceman and Electro and Constrictor, Hobgoblin and Falcon. That must have been another wave. Those guys didn't make it in the story, and believe it or not only were they making toys, not only were they making comics, but they were also making different things like coloring books and sticker books. This was huge. The pencils here from Mike Zeck. The panel that had to be redrawn and then introducing or reintroducing the villains. And then original pages here from Mike Zeck. And this is the unused cover by Bob Layton. And Bob Layton leaving a note here how he wanted to do an homage to that Steranko Hulk Annual 1 cover. And then he didn't realize Jim Shooter needed the characters to look a lot smaller. So it had to be redrawn. Unused cover by Mike Zeck here and John Beatty. Another unused cover. The pencils. The Rick Leonardi sketch. And the design, of course, by Mike Zeck. The trade paperback. My gosh, this was the 1992 trade paperback. Which, again, is this cover that we have here. And I think that's the reason why I chose it. Because I had this for years. Because we didn't have a comic book store in my town. Or no, the one that we had, what was it called? The comic strip had just closed. The trade paperback from 2000. The omnibus with the Alex Ross cover. And then the back here showing the introduction from Tom DeFalco, Barry Duder. And the epilogue by Barry Duder from the omnibus edition. And your end sheet. So let's look at the build of this. 525 pages. Sewn binding. And again, retailing for $125. And let's look at the actual paper stock that they're using. It's the same as the paper stock they use for the Black Costume Saga. It's not the high gloss. It is thick. It is glossy. It's not quite matte. It's not quite... It's not satin. It leans more towards the glossy side of things, but it doesn't have a glossy finish to it. But it's not like the matte paper that we've seen them use in the past, too, with some of their collections, the trade paperbacks mainly. But it does have a glossy finish. It just doesn't have the high gloss finish. And as far as the way the book... Let's look here with that binding. Lays over. It does have minimal gutter loss. And as far as the bleed through... does have minimal bleed through happening. So what I want to do is compare it to, really quickly, to my first printing of the omnibus edition. And alright, the omnibus again collects like the different pages from the prologue where these characters first disappeared. And just to kind of give you an idea as to the way it looks compared to the Omni. And because it doesn't have ads, there we go. Just how much bigger it is. Double page spread. Even the original printing here has a little bit of gutter loss. compared to here, which has minimal gutter loss. And then, of course, this has to do with the size of the book and that binding. And then the internal book, look of the book. Not just how much bigger it is, but also how much bigger the frames are, and then just the colors, the way they look a little bit different. Probably more true to the way they looked when you originally bought them. Man, this is a little bit harder to do because they're on opposite sides. Yeah, looks a little bit more, not cleaned up, just looks a little bit more details happening, or you can see a little bit more of the details. Like, they would have recolored that. But one thing to note is for the covers, they're actually using, and there's the bullpen bulletin, the whole page. They're using the full bleed from top to bottom. On the sides, you do have that there because otherwise they would have to stretch out the artwork. But it does look like for the internal book, they are using the frames. Oh, sorry, I meant to do this. And there's that page. So let's get over here. Yeah, something like this. Just to give you an idea of the way it looks compared to the Omni. But that's it. That is Marvel Superhero Secret Wars. That, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this archive edition, don't forget to check out our sponsors.
If you're in Europe and you're interested in buying these books, definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices, flat shipping rate of €12 for all EU countries, emails answered within 24 hours, waltscomicshop.com, and you can use the code nearmintcondition at checkout and get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order over €40. That's Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. Ding!
CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content and page count and build of this big archive edition. In the comments down below, let me know if you are picking this up, the Spider-Man Black Costume Saga, and what other stories you would like to see collected in this format from Marvel Comics. Any questions, leave them down below. Smash that like button. Check us out on Patreon and Spreadshop. Amazing ways to support the channel if you can do so. Everyone stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.